Ever wonder why a 3-second pause in conversation can feel like a 5-alarm emergency? Today, I'll explain the science of awkward silence like you're 5 years old. By the end, you'll understand exactly why your brain treats a quiet moment like a physical threat, and what that means for every conversation you've ever had. So here's the scene. You're on a first date, and it's going well, actually. The food's good, the conversation's been easy, and then nothing. A gap. Maybe 3 seconds, maybe 5. And in those 5 seconds, your brain has launched a full investigation. Does she like me? Did I say something weird? Should I fill this, or is she filling it? And why isn't she filling it? Why am I like this? Your fork is suddenly very interesting. You take a sip of water you don't need. You glance around the restaurant like something in the room might save you. You say something. Anything. Something mildly funny, probably. She laughs, the conversation restarts, and the moment passes. But you felt it. That small, specific dread. That particular flavor of panic that feels wildly out of proportion to what actually happened. What was that, and why does it feel so disproportionately awful? Here's what your brain was actually doing. Deep inside your skull, there's a structure the size of an almond. It has one job: scan for threats and fire the alarm before you even know what you're reacting to. Scientists call it the amygdala. Let's call it what it actually is: your brain's panic button, wired and ready. It has never once stopped to ask whether the threat is a predator or a 3-second pause at a restaurant. The alarm fired. Not because anything bad happened, because silence to this part of your brain doesn't register as neutral. It registers as unknown. And unknown, for most of human history, meant dangerous. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a lion and a lull in conversation. It does not care that you're safe. It is not taking questions. But here's where it gets interesting. The discomfort of silence isn't random. It's a very specific social calculation your brain has been running since long before you were born. Think about what silence meant for the first 200,000 years of human existence. Humans survived in small, tight groups. If you were in a group and the conversation stopped, if people went quiet around you, it meant one of a few things. Something dangerous was nearby. Someone was angry, or worse, people had stopped including you. And being excluded from the group wasn't embarrassing. It was a death sentence. No food, no shelter, no protection. You were done. Your brain learned to read silence like a warning signal. Not because silence is always bad, but because the cost of misreading it was too high. A false alarm? Mildly uncomfortable. A missed signal? Fatal. So your brain developed a very strong bias toward treating silence as a red flag. That bias is still running right now. In every conversation you have, every pause that runs a beat too long, every reply that takes slightly more time than usual. Your threat detector doesn't know you're at a nice restaurant and not a savannah. It fires the same alarm, releases the same stress chemistry, and tells you the same thing. Fill the gap. Say something. Move. Here's the part that'll actually surprise you. Studies have found that just 4 seconds of silence is enough to trigger measurable anxiety in most people. 4 seconds! That's barely anything. You could sneeze and lose 4 seconds. But in a social context, 4 seconds creates genuine physiological stress. Elevated heart rate, cortisol, the works. Researchers have also found that people consistently overestimate how long silences actually last. What feels like 10 uncomfortable seconds is often closer to 4. Your stressed brain is distorting time in real time, making the gap feel longer and worse than it actually is. And both people feel it. The silence isn't just happening to you, it's happening to everyone at the table. But here's the part nobody tells you. The discomfort of silence isn't only about threat detection. It's about something even more specific. Something called the social monitoring system. And this is where the first date pause, the awkward work meeting silence, and the weird gap on the phone all suddenly make sense. Your brain runs a background process during every social interaction. It's tracking faces, tone of voice, response times, micro-expressions, all of it, all at once, mostly without your awareness. The goal is simple. Figure out where you stand. Are you accepted? Are you respected? Are you safe in this group? Silence interrupts that process. When someone is talking, you have data. You can read them. When someone goes quiet, the data stops. And your brain, which does not handle uncertainty well, treats a gap in social data exactly like a gap in physical safety information. it escalates. What makes this especially interesting is that the social monitoring system doesn't take breaks. It runs continuously from the moment a conversation starts to the moment it ends. It's processing information below the level of your conscious awareness, which means you often feel the result before you understand the cause. You feel uneasy before you can name why. You feel the pull to speak before you've consciously registered that the silence has even started. The system is that fast and that automatic. It was designed not for accuracy, but for speed. Because in the environment your ancestors lived in, a slow social read could cost you everything. So here's what your internal monologue actually sounds like, decoded. Data stream interrupted. Can't read facial expression. Can't track tone. Unknown status. Unknown outcome. Threat protocol initiated. Say something. Because the discomfort is genuinely hard to sit inside. But here's the interesting question. Why does filling the silence feel like relief, even when what you say is completely useless? Because you didn't fill it to communicate something valuable. You filled it to close the threat loop. Your brain doesn't care what you said. It cares that the unknown resolved. The stress chemistry drops, the alarm quiets, and for a moment, you feel okay. Right up until you replay what you said on the drive home, and the second wave of anxiety starts. The comment about the weather. The observation about the menu that nobody needed. The thing you said and immediately heard yourself saying. None of it was communication. All of it was damage control for an alarm that didn't need to go off in the first place. The relief isn't social, it's neurological. Which is why, by the way, people who are deeply comfortable with silence aren't more emotionally evolved than you. They've just recalibrated their threat detection threshold. Their brain stopped flagging that specific silence as unknown. Familiarity rewrites the alarm settings. And that recalibration doesn't happen overnight. It builds gradually through repeated experiences of silence that didn't end badly. Think about the people you're most comfortable with. The ones where you can drive somewhere without talking. Sit in the same room doing different things. Watch something without narrating it. That ease didn't come from running out of things to say. It came from your brain trusting those people enough to let the data stream pause without hitting the panic button. Silence with a stranger is a gap. Silence with someone safe is just quiet. Same nervous system. Completely different result. The only variable is perceived safety. And here's what that means practically. The discomfort you feel with silence isn't a measure of how awkward you are. It's a measure of how new or uncertain the relationship still feels. It's diagnostic information, not a verdict on your personality. It tells you something true about where you are with someone, and nothing at all about whether you're fundamentally bad at being a person. Now go back to the first date. The food's still good, the conversation's been easy, and there's that gap. 3 seconds, maybe 5. Your brain launches its investigation, and now you know exactly what's happening. A 200,000-year-old threat system misfiring at a moment that doesn't need it. The alarm is not a verdict. It's just an alarm. You say something mildly funny, probably. She laughs. The conversation restarts. But this time, you're not replaying it on the drive home with shame. You're watching your own brain do something ancient and automatic. You're not broken. You're just running software that was written for a very different world. Here's your one reframe. The next time you feel that familiar lurch, that need to fill the silence immediately with any sound at all, you don't have to do what the alarm says. You can notice it, name it, let it ring. Knowing it's a false positive doesn't turn it off, but it means you're no longer taking orders from a brain system that thinks you're still on the savannah. The alarm was built to keep you alive. It did its job for a long time. It just never learned that a quiet pause on a first date isn't the end of the world. So here's what I want to know. Do you think it's actually possible to get comfortable with silence? Or is this one reflex we're permanently stuck with? Drop it in the comments. I read them all.